Why don't you use those?
Okay, let's try and keep a little bit of a procedural order in place. The lady over here has been waiting to ask a question. You, madam.
Just a question.
Can you speak up so we can all hear?
Okay, the pictures you show on the slide of the rental properties, about 50 people said in one house. What about putting immigration in place? Because a lot of these places that are being taken used by immigration take illegal people in the country.
Yes.
And why don't you get those people sorted out and then fine the landlords that's renting these places to them instead of putting it onto private rentals?
Ian's busted the table, then I'm busting the table, doesn't it? Ian, you can go first and then I'm going to ask this later.
Fairly recently, but now we visit every week, mainly with UKVA, that's the border agency, and the Metropolitan Police plainclothes. Every week we have to go into the private rental sector. Problems that are referred to us by the Metropolitan Police and UKVA. That's every week, sometimes twice a week now, and we pick up 3 or 4 properties. But the property where people were living in the cellar we found last Thursday, and that was just on last Thursday, and so Robin answered that on the slide. So this is happening every single week.
Yeah, but are you finding the landlords every fine?
Yeah.
Instead of putting it back on our
Sure.
ordinary landlords that's not doing anything.
No, and I think some of the problems, and you've hit that on there, it's not the landlords that are here tonight. We're chasing around the country looking for landlords and property empires that we can't find, and that's one of the problems.
Can I tell you, one of the things we're trying to do is identify all the properties. That's part of what this is about. Let me tell you, but we take this very seriously. We went to the government and said, we want to enforce the minimum wage. Now, why do we do that? I'll tell you why. Because most people who are illegal immigrants are working for less than minimum wage. So we wanted to get into businesses and exploit what let's do it. Right? We went along, we did raids on a number of chicken shops. What was it? We got 18 illegals from 12 shops. So what then happened was suddenly they become students. Because there's a whole raft of people getting in students. Now what we did was we went to the government and said, could we please do something on data matching, because we want to tackle this problem. Because we're trying to come at it from all the different directions. We don't just want to come at it from the point of view of property, we want to come at it from the point of view, if you can squeeze off the employment, then people won't be here, that's how they stay. Now we've tried to do that, we've gone to government, we've asked for the powers, we've sought to get them, we continue to try and come at it. So I agree with you on it.
As you just said, you can't find those landlords, so still in the end of the day, you're going to be paying these fees, and those landlords still can't be found.
And I said to you, the issue is a question of balance. Given the industry, and given the bad practice that's going on in the industry, I think it's in your interest to eliminate that bad practice. I think this is a way of doing it, and if I can find the cheapest possible way to help good landlords do it, we are committed to that. And that's one of the things we're here for, is to say, when we go in the next round of consultation, talk to us about the best way of doing it. Talk to us in ways that minimise the work. Talk to us the way we minimise the impact of good landlords. There may have to be some, but we're trying to clean up an industry which, if it doesn't clean up, listen, we've seen it in other industries.
Things will happen. You can't find those landlords.
Well, that's why we're going to do it.
Sorry, just to come back to your question. We have found every single landlord in this building. It's taken us 18 months,
yes,
but we have got every single one now.
And that's only 250 properties here.
I know.
You're talking 35,000.
Yes, we are. We have to put the resources in. We will put the resources in to do this because it needs to be done.
And I think what you should be doing is targeting smaller areas to get rid of the problem, and then we can identify it slowly. But to do it across the borough, I don't think you've got the capacity to do it.
Well, why don't you feed that back in as perhaps you do a chunk at a time or something of that sort? I'm more than happy to listen to arguments and debates. We need to move, and we need to move quickly.
As long as you're going to give us the information, as long as you give us the information, these are the problem areas.
Look, I showed you. I showed you the areas and said that the only area we don't have a lot of private rentals in Canada, which we by and large own most of. So that's, now, what we're saying is, we're happy to engage in discussions on how we do it, but you have to understand that it's the whole of the borough. We are selective. It's the whole of the borough across, if you think of the East End of London, it's the whole of the borough that's a selective area.
Yeah, but
it's not,
But if you were the mayor of the whole of London, it would be the whole of London.
No, it wouldn't. No, it wouldn't. It would be quite unnecessary to do that across the whole of London. Quite unnecessary. And there are all sorts of places you would have to do it. And I could start with many of the places in the outer London. So there'd be bids. Yeah, sure. If I was running a borough somewhere else, I'd be asking questions about it. But the fact is that if you look at the nature of our property, that's why it's come here first. And I'm not in the whole of London, so I can only speak for Newham.
I think we've almost reached the end of our time. We've got time for one more question. I'd like it from somebody who hasn't asked a question before. You've not asked a question before. Would you care to take the last question, sir?
I'll take a good one. I've been a landlord now for over 25 years in the borough, accredited landlord. And it seems to me what keeps coming out from people in this audience is that there's a communication problem. Because you aren't able to identify your landlords in the borough. I'm a landlord, as I said, for over 25 years, and I haven't once received any communication about any of these events. So I think that's a starting problem. There is a communication problem. You mentioned earlier about fundamental problems where people are not responding to things within the borough. The problem is you're not telling people about things that are going on in the borough. People have to find out by chance, you know, by word of mouth. You're just not getting the message across. I think, you know, you need to really look at how you communicate to people within the room. As I say, the first meeting we had was hardly anyone at all attended, and I was only there purely by chance because someone told me that meeting was taking place. So I think that's where one of the problems lies.
It is a problem, I think that's right, and we'd be happy to talk some more about that. We try to work with the landlords associations, of course we will. But if you think about it, we work very hard on communications in the borough. You have to be a resident for us to be able to talk to you there. We know the businesses that aren't not resident, but we know the businesses in their addresses, so we can by and large get in touch with them. But we don't know where the landlords are, we don't know all the landlords. We are more than happy to go through it. In fact, Ian has done it for years talking to people. But it isn't good enough, I agree. If we focused on that and focused on how we could make things easier for good landlords, how we could implement schemes sensibly, how we could find a way of communicating with the good landlords and make your life easier, that would be a much more constructive way for us to go forward so that we can also tackle the rogue landlords, which I suspect, in your heart of hearts, many of you would say, so you should too. You just would like us to find a different way of doing it. So I wouldn't disagree with that, and we'd be happy to talk about ways of communicating, but I think we do communicate with the credit landlord. Absolutely. If we can find a better way to do it, we'd love to do it. Why wouldn't we?
You already have ways, Mayor.
We can talk to all the landlords.
Mr. Mayor, all evening I've been listening to this. All evening, it looks like that you have already made your mind up. Those adverts, ASBs, are not the landlords. They don't go around making trouble. It's your tenants.
Yeah.
They're the ones you need private ones. You're barking up wrong tree, isn't it?
Let me be honest.
So Robin, you're Robin Hood.
I either answer a question or I don't. I'll be absolutely.
You haven't done anything.
I think I've answered lots of questions. You may not like the answers you get sometimes, but I'm sorry. If you ask me, do I think this is a good scheme? Yeah, of course I do. That's why we're somebody. I think it is a good idea because I think it has worked in Little Ilford, not only by me, not only me, but my entire council thinks this is a good idea. However, I do think that if we can find a way to do it that minimises disruption to good land, that's what I've come here tonight for. Now I came here tonight knowing that you're not going to agree with this scheme. I'm not stupid. I know you're not going to like more bureaucracy and more I understand that. But I came here tonight to say, look, if we engage in a proper dialogue, we'll get what we want, which is a much better borough with less difficult land, with the bad landlords basically out of business, and you'll get a better offer for tenants and actually will do you some benefit. That's what we came to say, and also to say we will absolutely listen to ways of trying to implement this. Of course we will. That's what I'm here to tell you. Now, if you don't like that message, I'm really, really, really sorry, but that's the message. Sometimes you don't get what you better to be told the truth.
The money you're going to be charging
I don't think I'm
landlords or pass
bring the meeting to an end because our allotted
and you'll get more votes.
I'm sorry to all of those who would like to put a question.
I've actually got property in the pilot scheme.
But there just isn't time, and it's no good shouting at me because I'm not going to back down. I'm afraid we have to bring the meeting to a close because of the limitations of the booking, and Sir Robin has to leave to attend to other matters. Now, it's quite clear, I won't attempt to sum up this discussion, but it's quite clear that this scheme is not popular amongst the representatives of landlords here. However, it does seem to me that rather unusual in our country, you have the mayor himself who is prepared to face you and say, this is what I think, and I am prepared to listen. He has said that he is prepared to listen further, and all I can say from the vantage point of the NLA is that the NLA will continue to make representations to you in your style, Sir Robin. We will continue to work with you, and we will try to find a way through this morass, as it were, that makes the outcome, towards an outcome that, whilst it not be welcomed, might be something that landlords can live with. But I cannot promise that. We cannot deny that there is a huge problem with the private rented sector in Newham. Whether it is quite as horrific as was presented, I don't know. The truth must be somewhere in there that we haven't maybe teased out completely. And all of you who leave this meeting a little bit frustrated, don't give up hope. If you knew the situation we were in before the Housing Act 2004 came in and compared the situation during the run-up with the outcome was actually much better than we had feared. So it may be that with further discussion, which the NLA will certainly have, will make it appropriate. But I think you do owe it to recognise your democratically elected mayor has chosen to come here this evening and to face a barrage of criticism, and I think he's done it in an articulate and restrained way.